Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Honeycomb Live for Five. I'm here with Derry again. And we're going to look at this question that's across the bottom of the screen. Developing teams is obviously important, but how do you quantify the benefits of that? It's a question that we get all the time, of course, and we have to help our clients answer. It's a tricky one, though, and I'm going to pass it straight over to Derry first to let him explain how we tend to help people with that, and then we'll go from there. What do you think, Derry?
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and just to clarify, this is a question that's not just about training. This is a question about like the overall set of systems that you need in place to develop your team. And conceptually, people understand that developing your consultants is obviously an important part of running a consulting firm, but it can be really hard to quantify the benefits. But we've got a decent system for that. So let me lay out how I think about this. And what you've got to get your head around here is the idea that the benefit primarily comes from freeing up senior time or increasing leverage. I hate the word leverage for some reason, but it seems to fit in this case. So if you take the example here, if you've got a consultant in your team, 3 to 5 years into their career, they're doing a solid job as a bit of an individual contributor within a consulting team, and typically you'd be expecting to make 80, 90, maybe 100K a year margin on that person. When they then get promoted up to, say, senior consultant, and they're looking after a pod of them plus a couple of consultants, that pod is then, you'd expect them to be making maybe 250 to 300K a year of margin across the three of them. So that individual, when they get promoted, is suddenly looking after, instead of 100K of margin, 300K of margin. You imagine again, they then get promoted up to manager and they're looking after a couple of pods. And maybe there's now 7 people in their little delivery team on their projects. And that whole unit, keep the math simple, it would contribute maybe 700K of margin. So if you take that typical kind of 2-year promotion time from consultant to senior consultant, and then another 2 years from senior consultant to manager, that individual across that time is going to contribute like 1.5 million of margin over 5 years. If you accelerate the time to promotion by 6 months, instead of 1.5 million, they're going to contribute 2 million, an extra £500,000 of margin per consultant if you can accelerate your time to promotion by 6 months. And if you're operating a consulting firm that works as a meritocracy and people get promoted when they're ready, and you've got enough work coming in the top, then the only barrier to that time to promotion is how quickly someone can get to that level. So the way I think about the benefits of developing your team are, if you can accelerate time to promotion by 6 months, which is what we see consistently when people put a holistic system in place to drive development, you can generate an extra £500,000 margin per person. And that is the benefit. That's the quantification that I think about.
And it's pretty compelling, obviously. I think the challenge that we're working with, and most of our client firms are wrestling with, of course, is the leverage model probably changing because of the implementation of AI, and therefore those kind of calculations are going to start to change. And it's interesting that we've always worked with our clients about helping people through transitions. So whether that is a promotional point or otherwise, it's ultimately helping people, accelerating the time it takes for them to be effective at the next level. And the ROI is typically actually been a little bit easier to demonstrate the more senior that is. And you're getting into, if someone is now effective in a sales mode, you can start to more easily quantify the benefit that's bringing to the firm. I think actually at the moment, the transitions that we're talking about are kind of more complex and more complete, because it's not necessarily just about moving up in the firm now. It's the transition into a AI-enabled world. And everybody, even at their existing grades and their existing responsibilities, are going to need to transition into a world where they can deliver engagements in an AI-enriched, AI-enabled environment, perhaps not with such a pyramid model anymore, with operating alongside agents and a lot of agentic workflow. I suspect actually when we really start to work with clients on that, the ROI is actually going to be easier to demonstrate. I think there's going to be the positivity of, like, if we can do this, this is the cost that we can take out of our business to deliver the same types of impacts. We can run more projects at once with the same headcount. But there's also a negative part of the argument as well. Like, if we can't do that, but our competitors can, and they transition to that world faster, and they develop their people into that world faster, then we're going to start losing business quite quickly as well. So there's going to be a sort of positive and negative way to make the ROI case here, I think.
Yeah, I think I fully agree with that. There's definitely a bit of a burning platform at the moment around, like, in the past it's been, well, we want to develop our team because we want them to progress through, etc., etc. Now, like, you can't afford not to develop your team because you need to move them into a different direction. You know, they need to be AI enabled. They need to have the capability to write prompts, to build agents, to work with agents, and that there's no choice but to develop them. Whether you're thinking about promotion or not, you've got to think about that leverage model, and the leverage model for the firms that win is going to involve heavy use of AI in the future. And if you're not moving in that direction in 2026, I think you're going to set yourself up for a bit of a challenge.
Absolutely. Well, look, we've gone over our 5 minutes again, but only just, of course, an important topic. So we'll end it there. But for more resources from Honeycomb, as always, you can go to the QR code on the top of the screen there, and you'll get through to a whole host of resources that we publish on Honeycomb. But for now, thanks very much. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you.